So it truly is an honor to welcome two men who become mentors to me, who stand by me when I need their support, which has been a lot. So I'd like to welcome John Huie and Dan Myer to join me, please.
My name is Dan Myer.
And my name is John Huie. There's everything I can do to refrain from saying, let's really circle up. I'm going to resist, but I do ask you all to come in a little closer maybe. It's also everything I can do not to give a reading. I'm not a very good rock climber. I'm not an expert outdoorsman, but I do know how to give a reading. And I'm proud of that readings book that we dedicated to Marjorie. I have a reading that I don't think you've heard before, and I'm going to dedicate it, Dan and I will dedicate it to all the field staff and logistics and all the people who've delivered the goods in the field for decades. Artifacts endure for centuries and bones for millennia, but influence goes on forever. Who can imagine the next century, 2 lifetimes, 1,000 fads, and 1,000,000 changes from now? But know this, there will still and always will be truth to learn, work to do, people to serve, and God to love. You get no guarantees, only the promise of adventure and the prospect of wonder. Thank you to all those field instructors who keep that wonder alive over 50 years. We're going to do this hold up your hand thing again, sort of like we did last night, but there are many new folks here, mostly staff. Would you please raise your hand high and let out a hoop if you want to. If you've had an NCO best experience ever as a student, raise your hand, please.
You've been or currently are a field instructor with our school.
If you've served on our board or any of the advisory boards in all of the many regions. Not very loud.
You've worked or currently work in our town office.
Please keep your hand up now if you've been involved with the school for more than 5 years.
More than 10.
Come on. Raise your hand if you've been involved with the school more than 15 years. Woo! Henry, you can say woo.
20.
All right. Raise your hand and say woo if you've been with the school more than 30 years. Woo! You beat the 20s.
Okay, here it is, 40.
Now please raise your hand. Drum roll. Mystery. If you've been involved with the school in some way for more than 50 years. I think if you really tracked it back, Marge's been involved for probably 53 to 54 years when the idea was germinating. And when I met her in Minnesota for the first time. Marjorie has reminded me on a number of occasions like this that the motto of the state of North Carolina really applies to the culture of the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And that motto is, and I did have 4 years of Latin, I ought to be able to say it, esse quam videre. Okay? It means to be rather than to seem to be. To be rather than to seem to be. It seems to me that captures the essence of this culture, of this community, because folks, this is the real thing. This is real. The stories I've heard today confirm it over and over again. By the way, please talk to Bob Brown before he leaves today, an early trustee who has some incredible stories to tell about South Africa. Now, Dan. Dan will close it out. Age before beauty. I meant to say earlier, I'll say it now. I ordered a pair of football shoulder pads to give to Dan. They haven't arrived yet. But I want to tell you, I stand on this man's shoulders, and I think in a real sense we all stand on his shoulders as the pioneer leader who stabilized this school, set the course. So, no, that's not all. Marjorie Buckley, right out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, Southern to the bone, like me. 50 years of being real, not seeming, but being real, being authentic, Southern, welcoming, friendly, and true to the vision still. We're now ready for another 50 years of being, not pretending to be, pursuing. In your words, Marjorie, when you accepted the Kurt Hunt Award, I'll never forget the words, and they're very familiar words. What we're doing here is pursuing the good, the true, and the beautiful. We were asked to keep to the script, and I've gotten about 90% right. We were asked to speak from the heart. You can't do anything else if you're a member of this community but speak from the heart. And this wonderful thing about it, when people start speaking and choke up and cry, they don't apologize for it, usually. And I think that's a darn good thing. Yeah. And I feel choked up a little bit, and I don't even know exactly what to say. I know that being articulate is far less important than saying what you feel in your heart. I've been trying to learn that for a long time. Outward Bound helped me a lot. And I'm going to say that if it hadn't been for Outward Bound, it came in a critical period in my life. I really don't know what I would have done, and I don't know how it would have turned out. I'm not sure how it turned out anyway. Mike Frashesha knows. But what Outward Bound did for me, I've told you this many times, Marjorie, is it gave meaning and purpose to my life at a critical time, and gave me a mission for my life and career. And I'm forever grateful for that, and I'm grateful beyond words to be part of an authentic community like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John, for the kind words. And I was only director here 6 years. John was between 17 and 18 years. So my hat's off to him. Well, John had mentioned that he and Marjorie were Southern to the bone, and I have to speak up a little bit for the Yankees. And I can't speak from the heart, because I would break down. So I'll just tell a little brief story about Joshua Chamberlain, who became the president of the University of Maine and went on to be the governor of Maine. But before that, as a professor, he volunteered for the Civil War and became an officer and fought at the Battle of Gettysburg, where, as a matter of fact, he won the Medal of Honor. And it was for a brief skirmish on Little Round Top, where his unit was charged to secure the flank for the Union troops, and they were under incredible pressure from, I think it might have been Alabama unit. At any rate, he ran out of ammunition. And just consider that, outnumbered, people rushing up the hill, and he ordered a charge. And his men charged down the mountain with no guns, no ammunition, just screaming. And they held the position because the other forces didn't know what was coming. They thought they were at the lead of some huge counteroffensive. And years later, this man who was so accomplished and had that as part of his background and resume was asked about his life. And he said he was born for those 15 minutes. I was born for the 6 years here.